Call to order Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees regular meeting, Tuesday, June 24th, 6:31 PM. Roll call.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
Trustee Clinton.
Here.
Supervisor Kermy.
Here.
Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Here.
Trustee Groth is excused. Trustee Stewart.
Here.
Clerk Borba here. We have a quorum.
All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just an announcement, Sandy Groth, we have condolences for her. Her sister passed this last week, and so that's the reason she's not here. She's burying that sister. So our prayers are with her.
Absolutely.
Item C, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, second by Buckley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, and because there's a resolution involved, it will require a roll call vote.
Second.
Second by Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Clinton.
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Yes.
Treasurer Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, who reviewed the bills this week?
It may have been Sandy that did it last.
All right, so,
Yeah.
we missed that bag, all right. So, public comment for non-agenda items, 3 minutes.
The sign-in is over there.
Good evening. I would first like to thank you all for the wonderful work you do for our amazing community. My name is Jill Anderson, and I'm a proud resident of Plymouth Township. More specifically, I live in the Lake Point neighborhood. My husband and I have been blessed to live in this community for 11 years. We have formed very close relationships with residents on our street and neighborhood, some of which are here tonight. Late August, we were deeply saddened when we lost one of our neighbors, Daryl McKinley, or who we called Mac. Mac was an original resident of Lake Point. Not only that, but he was also a former teacher at our local elementary school and a veteran. He was a lovely man who made sure he knew all of our names, and loved sitting outside on summer evenings watching the children and dogs play in the neighborhood. He was what a neighborhood is all about. He raised his children here and contributed to the community. After he passed, his children put his house up for sale, and we watched at least a dozen families check out his house. Mac's children happily shared that a family with young children purchased the house. We excitedly waited for them to move in as they did some needed updates to the home. Just when we thought they had finished, we noticed a car at the house with out-of-state plates, which we also witnessed speeding down our street multiple times. That's when we realized it was not going to be a family home, but a short-term rental. My husband and I, as well as multiple people on our street, were shocked. As desirable as Plymouth Township it is not typically a tourist or destination. We are extremely concerned not only about the obvious issues that come with short-term rentals, parties, speeding, not being involved in the community, connected to the community, but even more so the long-term effects this will have on our community. This could have an impact on our local elementary school enrollment and subsequent funding, as well as our home values. What was even more disappointing was finding out that there are no restrictions on short-term rental properties in Plymouth Township. In the next few years, there are several houses on our block that may be up for sale. With no restrictions on short-term rentals in our community, how many is too many? How are there restrictions and regulations on businesses run out of homes, but not houses that are businesses? Being from up north, I watched as my hometown was solely overrun by short-term rentals, mostly owned by companies that have no real stake in the community, and I would hate to see this happen to our amazing city. We ask you today to please consider adopting some rules and regulations regarding the number of rentals, specifically short-term rentals. Local communities such as Livonia and Ann Arbor have put regulations in place in residential areas. Please consider keeping our community wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ruth Harvey. I also live in Lake Point, and I'm here about the same issue. I've lived in Lake Point 47 years now, and we love it there, and we're very happy. But I'm on the board also. I don't have an office, or I'm not an officer, but I'm on the board of Lake Point homeowners. I've been seeing all this chatter on Facebook, so I typed up a list of all the 4 homes that I've identified, or other residents have identified to me, so that you all would have them if hopefully you start to consider doing something about regulating this proliferation in our neighborhood. So if you don't mind, I'll just pass it over. Everybody my printer actually went crazy, that's why I have one.
What
for
street do
everyone.
you live on?
I live on Dogwood Drive. I used to live on, I lived on Greenbrier for 7 years, and Dogwood for 40. There's one home on Greenbrier, there's one on Crestwood, 2 on Hamel. But one on Hamel is not a Lake Point home, but still in the township, so we included that also. Okay? Thank you.
Are we talking about Airbnb?
Yeah, short-term rental, which is controversial in the state. We've had short-term rentals. It's called renting a cottage up north for 125 years, but now it's proliferating into suburban neighborhoods. And it's somewhat of a testimony that there's destination here to Plymouth, people coming to weddings and golf outings.
Hi, my name is Ben Anderson. I'm Jill Anderson's husband. Thank you all for taking the time to hear our public comments. This weekend, I had the pleasure to hear a free market lecture as we were discussing this opportunity. And I was really concerned when my wife was talking with a member of the council and she heard about how when you have a home, it is for you, it's your choice on what to do with it. It was very much put in the form of a binary. You can have either finance, or you can have financial wealth, or community building. I'd like to really kind of see those things not as mutually exclusive, but those things as partnering together. I think Jill did a fantastic job of talking about community value. And we know that as community grows, as investment in the community grows, and not investment in Airbnbs, but investment in the people, that's when the true value builds. So I am definitely open to, we've benefited. We were actually at an Airbnb this weekend in a great community. We see the value of Airbnbs. We wonder if there's enough hotel lodging in the township. We would really welcome some sort of information on how it is that we are thinking about the proliferation of short-term rentals, and are excited to continue to follow along and to attend these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your information, 3 of these, I turned these addresses into our assessor because they have primary residence exemption, which says they're living in the house. Well, that'll end next year based on renting the house. Now, there's some state laws and formulas for that, so their taxes will increase by 18 mils if it's determined that they are renting it, even short term. All right, anything else? Okay. Let's go on to new business. We're going to talk about our master plan and the community survey around that. Our planning consultant and some of the members of the Planning Commission are here. Laura Hall will lead it off and give us some background on the master plan and why it's the right thing to do. or why we have to do it. It's by law.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, trustees. Laura Hall with McKenna, and I am joined by several planning commissioners this evening. The chair of the planning commission, Dennis Zabolski, the vice chair, Tim Boyd, and Commissioner Dave Ladowick. We appreciate the opportunity to provide some background information on the master plan because it is something that is very important in the township and something that the board will also be involved in. Ultimately, you are the final adopters of this plan. So I wanted to start us off with a quote, just to kind of frame how important the township's master plan is. So, good planning helps create communities that offer better choices for where and how people live. Planning helps communities to envision their future. It helps them find the right balance of new development and essential services, environmental protection, and innovative changes. So the master plan is a long-range, big-picture plan, but the results of the master plan really impact residents and businesses day to day. Those policies and ideas, it translates into how neighborhoods look and feel, what the business corridors are like, where parks and green spaces are located, and where growth will happen in the future. So in Michigan, there are 2 state statutes that govern master plans. The first is the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, and then the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. And these prescribe certain aspects that must be provided in a master plan and certain elements such as a 63-day public comment period. So the Michigan Planning Enabling Act dictates that comprehensive master plans must include community data, an opportunity for public input, outline policies and objectives, contain a future land use map, which describes how every parcel and area in the township will be developed in the future, and contains a zoning plan. And so as part of the process, the state act outlines that the Planning Commission is the entity to hold the public hearing and adopt, but ultimately in Plymouth Township, it must also go to the Township Board of Trustees. So the goal is for the board to review this later this year. The purpose of a master plan is to create clear, solid positions to defend land use decisions against, to guide developments that are coordinated, harmonious, and economical, to consider and account for trends in land development and population demographic changes. And ultimately, the goal is to promote public health, safety, and welfare, not only in today's conditions, but the future. The other state statute, the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, regulates the zoning ordinance. And that is a different document than the master plan. The zoning ordinance is the implementation mechanism by which the master plan is implemented. So the zoning ordinance is law and deals with what you can do with your property today. So what uses are permitted, dimensional standards, setbacks, building heights, what uses may be special land uses, the processes for planned unit developments or rezonings, all of that is contained in the zoning ordinance. So when we look at the difference between the master plan and the zoning ordinance, this is really an important distinction. The master plan, big picture, guide for the future. The zoning ordinance is what I can do with my property today. The master plan is policy, it's a guiding document. The zoning ordinance is the law. The master plan discusses future land uses more in general terms, where the zoning ordinance is property line specific. The master plan is intended to be somewhat flexible, can't predict the future. So there is a degree of flexibility within master plans, whereas the zoning ordinance has very specific standards. You either meet this standard for landscaping or lighting, or you don't. And then both the master plan and the zoning ordinance, any changes to either have to go to the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees here in Plymouth Township. So specific to master planning in Plymouth Township, this is a powerful expression of the community's intentions for the future, the direction you are moving in. The master plan, very importantly, is the basis for your zoning and other land use regulations. The master plan identifies existing conditions and trends. It sets goals to work towards based on current policy and input from the public. It strives to balance community rights with property owners. And it provides recommendations, not just the future land use map for how land should be developed, but also an action plan, providing the township, the planning commission, and the board with items to work towards over the next 5 years. The master plan is a 5-year document, but it also is even longer range than that. It really has a long horizon, and it's your most important long-range planning tool. So when you see the draft of the master plan, these are some of the key sections that are going to be included. The demographic and development trends, existing land use patterns, natural features and open space, community services and infrastructure, transportation, mobility, and accessibility, goals and objectives, again, the future land use map, that's a very important component, and then the implementation prioritization, which is the action plan. So how do you effectively implement the goals of this master plan that the community desires into attainable actions? And as part of this process, we are reaching out to the public in multiple ways to understand their concerns, ideas, desires for Plymouth Township in the future. We will be updating the township's website to provide the draft plans. The survey is available on the township's website. It's also available via Facebook, and there's some QR codes in the back. If you'd like to take the survey tonight, pass those out to your neighbors, just raise awareness. It's open to all residents and business owners. We have a dedicated steering committee that consists of the Planning Commission members here this evening, and that is foundational for moving the plan forward. The Planning Commission is meeting regularly for study sessions, so really doing their due diligence. And as I mentioned before, there's a 63 public comment period just while the draft is available, and then a final public hearing. Chairman Sobolski has a couple items to mention regarding public engagement and the importance of reaching out and having that community feedback. So.
Thank you, Laura. So I wanted to speak about the public participation, which is a very important aspect of this effort. So public participation, when properly executed, builds community consensus and strengthens sense of purpose, enriching democracy by allowing residents to voice their ideas and not just complaints, which are also an important component in developing a master plan. A few times people do come in, they have complaints, and often I challenge them as chair as to, well, what's your solution? To offer them an opportunity to tell us directly what they would like to see. We'd like to encourage that in the future, but with more education. With this in mind, the Commission referred to the Township's April 2023 Public Participation Plan, created as part of a graduate student project at the University of Michigan, Taubman College of Architecture and Urban Planning. The plan was created over the course of 4 months in 2023 through a process of research and outreach, including a survey to determine which township engagement, where township engagement was working and where it wasn't. The limited survey included a question that was key to us. Where do you get your information about what is happening in Plymouth Township? Choose all the ones you use, and these are the results of the most popular ones. 53% of the respondents indicated the most frequent source of information was through the Township e-newsletter. Also 52% through the township print newsletter, 50% through word of mouth, which is, as we know, not always the most accurate, 49% from Facebook, hopefully through the township account. It was important to the commission to solicit input through various ways. Based on these results, the commission decided on an online and paper survey would be the most efficient and effective method to gauge the public's concerns. Additionally, there will be 69 days of public comment once the draft is completed. We're considering an open house kickoff where maps, drafts of the plan, and planning staff be there to receive comments, discussions with the public, and we feel that that would be a more effective communication between the Planning Commission, the Board of Trustees, of course, is invited to that, than just having a more formal public hearing. People are often nervous about coming up and talking about what their needs are, what their wishes are, and so we feel that in an informal setting would be best. And then we'll follow it up with the more formal public comment period. Public engagement is crucial in developing a community master plan for several reasons. It engages community need. It ensures community needs are addressed. To understand the real priorities of the residents and businesses in the township, residents also often have insights into the community's day-to-day challenges, opportunities, and what they desire to see improvements. It promotes inclusivity and equity. Public engagement helps ensure that all community members are engaged. Younger and older groups, new families, empty nesters, they all have a voice in shaping the future of the neighborhoods and the township. It also helps build trust and transparency. It demonstrates that the planners and the township leaders are responsive to the needs and desires of the people that we all serve. It improves plan legitimacy and success. More likely to be embraced by the public. When people are heard, they feel more likely to support and understand the implementation and actively contribute to its success and acceptance. It fosters ownership. Once people are engaged in those kinds of discussions, they feel that they own part of that because they feel their voices have been heard. It identifies creative solutions. They may come up with ideas that neither the Planning Commission or the Board of Trustees have considered because they're living in particular areas that we may not be familiar with. They have a different mindset as to what expectations are of living in Plymouth Township. It also, engaging with the public early and consistently helps identify potential sources of opposition or concern. By addressing these issues early in the process, planners can make adjustments to the plan or increase the education process, reducing the likelihood of significant opposition down the line. Now, when we have our meetings, I've asked Laura to explain some of the more complicated steps that we have to go through, what those steps are. We feel that educating the public, they can understand why we may not be making that decision today, or we do. They can always appeal the decision to you folks if that's part of the process. Successful development requires the integration of environmental, social, and economic factors while maintaining the character of the Plymouth community. Public engagement helps ensure that the plan reflects community values and the quality of life. It boosts community resilience by building a stronger social tie and sense of collective responsibility, which are vital for weathering the challenges that may come along in the future. It also increases long-term community engagement. It sets the foundation for an engaged and informed public that continues to participate and understand future initiatives. And for township leaders and planners, public engagement helps ensure that their policies and goals align with the desires and needs of the people they serve. It helps bridge any gaps between top-down decisions and bottom-up expectations. Ultimately, public engagement makes the master planning process more democratic, transparent, and effective. It also creates a shared vision for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you completed?
That concludes our presentation, yes. If we're happy to answer questions that you may have about the process or what's included.
The planned approval date is December 2025. That's when we want to have the completed document approved by the township board. So then we can use it going forward, and it may mitigate some unusual or difficult projects that come forward. It may provide a better framework to handle that by closing some of the open holes or nebulous points that are in there today, or items that are in the master plan. It's a tune-up. This is not the type of effort that has been done by Northville Township or Canton Township, which they spent between $100,000 and $150,000 to do. We don't have a lot of undeveloped land, so this is what I would call a good tune-up for us going forward.
When do, if I may ask, when do you plan on starting the public comment portion of it, or meetings for the public?
The 63-day plus comment period will be this fall.
This fall, okay.
Yes.
So you don't have a time frame yet? That'll get published on our website?
Yes,
Yeah,
it will,
thank you.
and it will have to come back before, the process that the state dictates is that it must come before, the plan must come before this board, and you must release it for distribution and public comment. So that's what really kicks off that 63-day period.
Okay,
So
thank
we're
you.
looking at doing that in September.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any comments from anybody? Because you are allowed in Plymouth Township to comment on agenda items when we speak about it for 3 minutes. If you do, you have to come to the podium so that we can hear you and it gets recorded by the audio system. So don't be shy, go for it.
When was the last time the master plan for the township was
5 years ago.
voted on or changed or whatever the word is?
That was 2015.
Oh,
And
okay.
the plan is available on the township's website if you'd like to review it.
And so is that every 10 years? Is that the norm probably, or hopefully?
The state requires to review it every 5 years.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
COVID may have disrupted it. All right. Any more? Okay, we'll go to the next item, which is a public hearing that we need to open on comments for the MITC, Michigan International Technology Center for Parcel 13 of the Brownfield Plan Amendment 7. Just to kind of bring you up to date on this, Plymouth Township has an elevated water tower that is just west of Home Depot. And that water tower, since it was built, is flushed onto the ground. It's tap water, fresh water, when it either overflows or is being flushed for a cleaning. If the development there proceeds and uses the land where we're currently dumping the water on the ground, then we may have to have a pipeline built to a sewer. And if that happens, we want to be protected such that we can use the tax increment financing to eventually recover the cost of building that pipeline, which will be several hundred thousands of dollars. Hopefully, we will never have to build it. So,
You need to open them.
yeah, so we need to, you
Yeah,
open the
Okay.
public hearing?
The public hearing for this item is open now at 7:59. I move to open it.
6:59.
Pardon?
6:59.
6:59, I'm sorry. I was wanting to go home already. 6:59, I move to open it, and I need a second.
Second.
Second, okay, and we'll need a roll call. Clerk Vorba, yes. Supervisor Kermy?
Yes.
Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Clinton?
Yes.
The public hearing is now open.
We need any comments from our consultant, or do we wait till the item?
We can just wait till.
We'll wait till we get to the item.
Is there any public comments on this item?
It's not extremely, it's somewhat complex finance and taxation maneuvering to take the delta of the value of the land in a dirty condition or polluted condition to an improved condition. And so that's the tax increment between 0 and X. And the tax dollars are captured over a period of years as long as 30. And then that goes to pay back the cleanup and some infrastructure. And there's a lot of complexities with this Detroit House of Correction, former prison property. Both the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan were owners at one time, and the majority of the land was a farm from the days when prisoners were required to grow their own food.
And I would say it's extremely complex.
Extremely.
Makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hearing no
Any
public comments.
comments? No? All right.
Okay, I move to close the public comments at 7:01 for the MITC Parcel 13 Brownfield Plan Amendment Number 7,
Support.
supported by the treasurer. Trustee Clinton,
Yes.
trustee Stewart,
Yes.
treasurer Dorshera.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley,
Yes.
supervisor Kermy,
Yes.
clerk Borba. Okay, the meeting is closed.
Okay, so we got the public hearing documented, which is required. So we'll go to item F3, which is the actual amendment, number 7, to the MITC Parcel 13 Brownfield Plan, and it will be discussed by Dr. James Harless, who's the consultant for MITC. He is here today. He will give us some layman's terms overview. Then we can take questions again from the board and the public.
Good evening. Supervisor Kermey gave a good summary of why we're doing this amendment. The way MITC is structured, to use some of the tax increment revenue that's generated from developments in the MITC redevelopment area, has caused us to have a single brownfield plan that encompasses virtually all of the parcels in that redevelopment area. And what happens, as Supervisor Kermey says, as we have a development, we're very fortunate that almost all the land in the area has a starting taxable value of 0, because it was owned either by the State Land Bank, City of Detroit, or municipal owners at some point when it went into the brownfield plan. That means that all of the taxes that are generated from a development anywhere in the redevelopment area, we can capture. And those taxes are used for 3 purposes. One is to pay for the operational cost of MITC itself. 2, to capture about 30% of those taxes, and that goes into a pool that MITC can use to reimburse the cost of about $30 million of infrastructure upgrades that are needed to support the development. That's the repaving of 5 Mile Road. It's extending water and sewer services. The remainder of that tax increment from each of the parcels will then go to reimburse the eligible cost of the developer of that parcel. So the enabling statute, which is the Michigan Brownfield Redevelopment Financing Act, or we call it Act 381, says that anytime that you add a piece of property or you increase the total cost of eligible activities that you're reimbursing in your brownfield plan, you have to do a formal amendment like this. So this amendment is strictly to add that water tower parcel into the brownfield plan. It's not going to change any of the reimbursement right now. It's not going to change any of the financial aspects of the brownfield plan. It's just to make that property eligible. So if we have to do some infrastructure upgrades to the water system, because of the redevelopment in the overall MITC redevelopment area, Plymouth Township can be reimbursed out of that infrastructure pool that we've already gotten approval from the state of Michigan to do these types of upgrades. That allows, like I said, that reimbursement. Any questions?
Now, there's a number of parcels, but we always use 13 because that was the original parcel. So
Yes.
even though this is not necessarily that particular parcel, we use 13 as the genesis of the beginning of the project.
It's a quirk by the way the Michigan Economic Development Corporation interprets Act 381, that we have to have this brownfield plan basically identified to a specific parcel, but it includes all the other parcels. It's just a quirk of the way they've interpreted the statute. And that means every time we get a new development, we have to amend that one plan. We can't create a separate plan for it.
Thank you.
And that's what all of these amendments are. Like I said, this is number 7, and there will be more. We hope, because that means we're getting development.
Any discussion, any questions? This will then go to the MITC meeting in July, correct?
No, this was already approved by MITC. It's been approved by Northville Township. This is the final approval step for this amendment. Each time we do an amendment, because MITC is basically a joint operation between Northville Township and Plymouth Township, whenever we do these amendments, it has to be approved by both townships. So you're one half of the process.
All right. Ready for a motion?
Yes.
Bob's going to do it.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve resolution number 2025-06-24-48, amendment number 7 to MITC Parcel 13 Brownfield Plan, and to add the Plymouth Township Water Tower Parcel Tax ID number 78-006-99-001-711 to the MITC Parcel 13 Brownfield Plan as eligible property.
Second.
Second by Buckley. Clerk Borba, yes. Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Clinton, motion carries.
Yes.
All right, we're going to go on to the next item, which is another MITC item for a different improvement. I'm going to bring this just out here so people can look at it. Move the board, or you guys want to look at it?
Yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna
just,
lean it on the table over there. Everyone might be able to see it.
Here, right here. The numbers in the circle, so we're going to talk next about property being developed on number 10. It's right on the county line, Napier and 5 Mile. So after I tee this up, Jeremy Schroet, our engineering consultant from Spalding to Decker, will get into some of the details. But essentially what this is, there is a speculative building that has been approved by Jones Development, who is here. They are a Kansas City-based developer. It's the largest building to be built in Plymouth Township since 1967, when the Ford plant on Sheldon Road was built. It's about 720,000 square feet. And in order to have fire protection for that building and some of the other buildings that are a little bit east that are planned to be developed, we're going to have a water tower with a pipeline. The water tower will be made of concrete, and it will be not a tower, it will be a ground-based tank at ground level. And the lead time to order that tank is a year or more. At 500,000 gallons, it will be enough to cover most fires. If you had multiple fires or an extremely large one, you might be challenged. But it is a great way to improve the water pressure in that area and protect for the possibility of a fire that would have many sprinklers running and the fire department pumping water all at the same time. So, go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay. You want to go to page 64 of the packet? You can see kind of an overview of the map. There you go. So what we're talking about here is the northwest corner of the township. Right now, that water main comes up Ridge Road and ends at 5 Mile. And there's another water main that comes along 5 Mile and ends right about in the middle of what is the essentially the Meyer parcel right now. So what we're looking at is we need to extend that water main from where it's at now all the way out to lot number 10. So there were two different ways to do that. Previously, there was an MITC amendment MITC agreement that allowed for reimbursement of that water main extension all the way up to lot 10. That would have been a smaller tank, wouldn't have served the regional area, wouldn't have provided the extra volume that we need during the peak hours. This entire area, including the area to the south, has some issues with volume just based on elevation and a number of other issues. So what the township did was the township engaged Jones, who's the developer for Lot 10, and talked about a public-private partnership of let's take that agreement that's already in place with tax reimbursement and let's upsize that tank to serve the region. And we looked at that from a number of different areas. No matter what, we would need some sort of storage tank in this area. That's been known for a decade at least. So this was the most cost-effective solution to do that. You tack onto this project, it costs, not as much to upsizes as it would to buy a parcel, build a whole new tank, build a water system for it, build the pumps and the whole nine. So what we're looking at today is two different agreements. One agreement, which is a reimbursement agreement. So Jones is we're working through an agreement now, but they've at least agreed in principle to work with us and allow for that upsizing. What they're looking for is an agreement for us to pass through the costs that are above and beyond their reimbursement. And I guess that cost that's above and beyond their reimbursement, the township's also going to be reimbursed through the same exact MITC tax abatement. And then the second agreement is an agreement to get the process started. It's a temporary reimbursement agreement to allow them, before we get all of our contracts authorized for the full reimbursement, to allow them to move forward and procure the water tank, because the water tank is, like Chuck mentioned, 1 year out. So we have to get that process started as soon as possible to not have delay for future development, but also all the developments we have going in and around that area.
Can I, was just a little confused. Is this for Plymouth and for Salem, or is this for Plymouth only?
This is for Plymouth only.
Plymouth only,
The
okay.
water main will terminate at lot 10 into a water tank, and then there will be a water service off of that to lot 10. This is just for circulation, and this has nothing to do with Northville, doesn't tie into their water system. This is for Plymouth only.
Okay. What is Salem gonna do with the water? FYI. Don't know.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not anything to do with Salem and
Yeah.
nothing to do with Northville either.
Well, they have their water connection already at Napier and Ann Arbor Road, where there's a pump station.
Right.
And that's connected to a 48-inch Great Lakes Water Authority line that Plymouth Township had nothing to do with. They contracted directly with Great Lakes Water Authority, which used to be the Detroit system and changed its name after the bankruptcy. What else can we say about this? Looping was prohibitively expensive to loop around the back, coming back east.
Yeah, well, we looked at running a secondary water loop south in Lot 10 and then coming back across the Johnson Drain to Ridge Road. And the cost was, yeah, tremendous compared to just running 2 sets of pumps where we circulate the water through the tank. So we're using the tank as the circulation.
And it's only for lot 10, no other?
No,
lots?
No, this is a regional deal, so this is actually gonna provide water volume for that area during peak demand because of how low that area sits. During the peak demand, they're pulling off of that, what we call the Home Depot tower, next to Home Depot. That tank actually drains down quite a bit, almost below a level that we would like. So this tank is gonna support that tank.
what else can we say about it that's, the tank is a concrete tank, which should last well over 100 years. It'll be assembled by a contract company that's their specialty.
Correct, and that property that surrounds the tank will become township property. That will be a township asset. It'll be managed by Patrick and his crew through
Where's the
DPS.
tank gonna be again?
What was that?
Where's this gonna be located, the tank?
The tank is gonna be located on the south side of 5 Mile, just east of Napier. So if you think about the previous Jones Industrial site plan, it's just
Right.
east of that. It's right at the east of their driveway.
Yeah.
So we want to, Jones is here, which is the owner of the company and the company that's going to be building the building. Come on up and just say a few words about the company and a little bit about the building, what it'll be made of, and some other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Cameron Cooper, Jones Development Company. I see a few new faces here. So we are a family-owned firm, industrial firm based in Kansas City. We've done over 250 industrial projects, really from West Coast to East Coast, 39 states. This is what we do. We've been working on this project for over 3 years now. I think I've been here and presented in front of a board, handful of different boards, 4 or 5 times. I'm excited about the opportunity. We're actually planning to break ground this August. And so Jeremy did a great job explaining. We roughly need, call it 140,000 gallon storage tank to support our property. We were approached by the township to upsize that. For obviously, it's a little bit less expensive to upsize it as opposed to do a whole new ground storage tank to support the township. So we agreed in principle. That's what we're going through right now in good faith, moving forward with this agreement to upsize to allow Plymouth Township to utilize this future water tank that we are going to build to support future development. So again, 715,000 a square foot building. Right now it is speculative, which means that we're going to build it without a tenant. However, we are currently in the market for soliciting owners, tenants that would utilize our space. So it's not uncommon. We do spec buildings across the country. In this market, we're very confident and excited about the opportunity to build a building here and then find the right user for that's a win-win for Jones Development as well as the township. So really just here, again, Jeremy and team did a great job explaining the situation. Here to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Do you expect it to be a multi-tenant building or a single tenant?
That's a great question. We will design for probably at most 2 tenants on the north side and south side, so they can have auto parks on north and south side and utilize trailer stalls. We've done that in other markets. Ideally, it would be 1 tenant, but we are planning for utilities to be served on both the north side and the south side.
And we keep hoping that it's manufacturing
Absolutely.
and not warehouse, although we can't tell them what to do. The building is somewhat reconfigured from the original proposal, which was much more close to the Salem Township county line.
Yep.
And so they were going to require some variances and whatever. So this is a much better, more neighborly building with no requirement to seek variances.
Exactly right. The original site plan that I came before the board 2.5, 3 years ago was a 3-building arrangement. Now we have 1 single building, 715,000 square feet, that's centrally located on the 100 usable acres. We originally bought 190 acres. 90 of it is wetlands that we are not disturbing, so 100 usable. So it's positioned right in the middle of the 100 acres.
Patrick, do you have something you want to add? Because you're going to be operating this and living with it for the next 100 years. Patrick is the Director of Public Services for Plymouth Township.
Yeah, thank you. As Supervisor mentioned, this is going to be a township asset. So we'll have a new 500,000 gallon ground storage tank, and we're going to have an associated pump station along with it. And the two main purposes are to provide fire flow for those parcels along the MITC corridor, and also to provide storage that will help us mitigate the peak flow because we're tacking on more demand to our system. So that increases the risk of our peak demand limit that we have in our water contract. So we need more water storage to mitigate the peak flow. It not necessarily will increase pressures. I don't want to give anyone the impression everyone's pressures are going to be boosted by this tank, but it will provide some peak flow mitigation and fire storage. And it may require, once it comes online, some additional improvements at the feed locations of Gliwa. But that will be addressed at a later time when we.
Patrick, do we know where it's going to be located on the lot? Is it going to be close to 5 miles? Is it going to be back behind the building?
It's going to be on the west end where the parcel is.
Okay.
Where the development's going on.
Okay.
And we've dedicated roughly, I think it's an acre of our land on behalf of the township.
That's being deeded to Plymouth Township at no cost? Is it, I think it,
At no cost.
at no cost. So it's worth $125,000.
Good deal. Anything from the public?
No. Any comments from the public or questions? This is part of the long-term infrastructure development and maintenance that Plymouth Township is very aggressive at doing. We don't typically have catastrophic surprises or failures, and the reason why is because Patrick Felrath and this township board invest the money which comes from your water bills, in many cases, to keep our water system viable and long-term functional.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to adopt Resolution 2025-06-24-49, authorizing the Board of Trustees to authorize the Township Supervisor to negotiate and execute the cost share agreement and pre-construction reimbursement agreement with Jones Development.
Second.
Second by Treasurer Dorchevitz. Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
Does anybody need a break?
Yeah, I'm good.
Because the next discussion could be long. All right. So the next item is a discussion item about what's called a SAFER grant, which is a federal program that provides funding for approximately 3 years for firefighters. We have had these before in Plymouth Township. In the past, we were required to retain them after the grant expired. But now apparently they've changed the rules that said you can lay them off if you had to, when you couldn't afford it. And we're considering 6+1, 6 people, and the one would be also, would facilitate hiring a deputy chief for administrative and operational tasks. Now, this is a big departure from what we've done in the past. It's a lot of people, so that's why we're going to discuss it here at the board. The fire chief will give us some background. Going into this, We will probably want some assurances, not probably, we will want assurances from the firefighters union that they will continue to agree to embrace and operate along with HVA and agree that we would extend the contract in the future when it expires. So, go ahead.
So you have the document in front of you that basically outlines the program. The recommendations for 7 firefighters, basically anything less than that, it's not even worth trying for. It needs to make a substantial change to the department. 7 would make the most change and difference to the department for us. It would not only provide 6 personnel on the line, which would increase our daily staffing from 8 to 10, but it would also give us an extra person in the back office or the front office to assist with the administrative duties. That also I mean, I need that now, but with 6 additional personnel, I'm gonna need even more. And the deputy chief would be primarily assigned to the operations portion of the department. I'd be more administrative, budget, that sort of stuff. They would be handling the operations portion. That's split between the 3 battalion chiefs right now. We are the lightest department in the area in the front office.
Lean.
Lean, the supervisor likes to refer to. So we used to have an assistant chief at one time, but Chief Wendell was promoted out of that position to chief, and it wasn't backfilled. So that position's been open for 15 years, 16 years, something like that. So that would help the operations, and then the additional 6 personnel on the line would make a substantial difference for us. That's what we have to show for the grant, is we're making a substantial improvement to the department.
And that's the judgment of the grant writer, who we will have to pay, and this is due by July 3rd, that 3 firefighters, or 3 plus 1, would not win the award. Now, that's his judgment. So we're going to talk about that too. For your information, in today's dollars, to retain these people on staff be about $1.1 million in today's dollars annually. So many of you know that I will not agree to any tax increases. So this will have to be done without tax increases.
And that also is, we were very conservative, and I took the highest amount it would cost to hire the 7 firefighters. So that is with the new lateral transfer agreement coming over at top pay. I don't think all those people will. Quite frankly, people coming over on a SAFER grant, I don't think will be leaving another department to come here unless they're already on a SAFER. But most likely you're going to be coming in a lower part of the pay scale on these.
But if they do, it misstates the cost, because it doesn't have escalation for annual cost increases, specifically pay raises and the ever-increasing cost of benefits. It should show that escalation in year 2, year 3, and beyond.
Right, this was just kind of to give you the idea of what it's going to be at. Like I say, I took the highest number I could without trying to figure all those other things in there. We got a very short timeline on this. We were presented this with May 23rd, they opened it, and they closed it July 3rd. It's a very short window, so it was like scramble and get it done.
Is this for the state or federal?
Federal.
It's not guaranteed, right?
Correct.
No,
It's not guaranteed that we will get the grant.
Okay.
Yeah, what we're talking about is making a go for it. And then we'll have a decision. Do we hire them?
Do we do it? Yeah.
If we win.
This is just to say, yeah, let's go for and then we can decide whether we're going to do it or not.
Gotcha.
This will be a $3,000 to $5,000 investment in
Trying to get it.
in
But
filing.
like I say, we're trying to make the best effort forward to show the best. And this will make a significant improvement for the department. 6 people will make a significant improvement. We have several times, about 22%, 21, 22% of the time, we have more than one call going at one time. And that basically drops everything. Typically 2 calls basically dumps all 3 stations. So that would improve those numbers, would give us the extra staff. It would provide more personnel on the west side in the situation where we have a fire. I often say it's John Wayne time out there, because you get in the trailer park or some of those farther western suburbs, and you're alone for probably a good 9 minutes before everyone else gets there to back you up and before you can even go into the house. And the improvement in personnel and productivity, when you add more personnel, there's studies that show, like I'm not exactly sure I'm ballpark on this, but a 3 firefighter crew is about 25% more effective than a 2 firefighter crew, and getting stuff done faster, getting water on the fire. And a 4 firefighter crew is about 40% faster at getting those critical tasks done quickly, which we need. So this would let us build. And the other thing is, when a lot of times when we have that second call happening all those times, it's just the nature of the business, nothing against your HVA, but we've taken their car from the community. The other one might be coming from Belleville or South Lyon. It's moving here, but in a timely fashion. People don't decide when they're going to have their emergencies. Unfortunately, it happened, and the other car from them isn't available, so that might mean that we might have to be transporting one of those just because they're not at hand, because we took the first call already went out to their first unit.
So what we want to have is some discussion here among the board, and if the public has anything to say of whether you think we want to go forward and apply for the grant.
I don't have a lot of objection to applying for the grant. Before we go forward with it, we would really have to understand how this would be sustainable.
You mean higher?
Yeah, because I don't see how it could be without a tax increase.
So 1 mil is about $2 million.
Yeah.
So this would be a little over 1 mil if you do that, but I'm not supporting a tax increase. So that's why we'll have to think about a different way to do it.
So when you go to hire, are these potential firefighters being told that they're only being hired by grant?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
what
they will
is
know
the
that.
viability of the grant even seeking people? That seems not a very
Safer grants
stable.
do have a bit of a stigma to them for people hiring. You might get a little bit of a turnover with them.
We've done it twice, I think.
We've done it twice, yeah, but we've retained both times too.
And you retained those firefighters in the
Yes.
past?
Yeah.
Now, you expect to have, gosh, maybe 3 to 5 people retiring in the next few years? I mean, is that?
Correct.
Okay. So you're going to be replacing bodies one way or the other?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, but this is incremental.
I understand, yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, to properly run the department, we should be moving forward on increasing this staff. This has nothing to do with HVA. It's just that to do our core firefighting job, we need more personnel.
For the benefit of the audience, HVA is a private ambulance service that is nonprofit, that is here in Plymouth Township by contract, but we do not provide any funding to them. They earn their money by transporting to hospitals and billing insurance companies or individuals.
So, Mr. Supervisor, in asking the board to move forward, so we need to make a motion, say that we move forward on this, and should we put a dollar amount on that safer grant application process?
I don't know if we need a resolution. You can just get, because I can make the decision.
Okay,
Because we're
Okay.
spending $3,000 to $5,000 for essentially consulting services.
Okay, that's good. Just so I understand.
Maybe the attorney has, I was just looking for a little, one, this is information, and two, for a little bit of thought from you guys.
So parliamentary inquiry.
So the exact question is, do we need to
need to make a
vote on
motion.
this, or we just leave it as discussion? Because I have the full authority to,
Purchasing policy?
yes, to do it.
I don't think it requires a vote.
Okay, thank you.
Pardon, you said?
No.
No, all right.
Okay.
Well, how will we know that you've done it though?
He's going to say what he's going to do or not.
Yeah.
So we're.
He's the one that's gonna submit it. Yeah, it's called trust.
I've already started the ball rolling and got a lot. I mean, it's a crazy timeline. You might see my office light on at wee hours of the night, reminiscent of a.
Because it's compressed timing,
Yeah, it's next Wednesday, I believe it is, or Thursday.
A question for you. Can you use any of those interviews that we're talking about, the shortage of firefighters in the township? Can you submit any of those interviews that I did?
Oh, for the
that the
grant
union did?
proposal? I'm not sure. I'll look into it.
That might be a compelling
Yeah.
way of moving it.
So
I don't have an objection to
to
take
at
a
least
shot.
giving a shot at it,
Do a shot.
and then study it if we
Yeah,
are
do-
fortunate enough to. Well, by the
Receive it.
way, we are working to hire some consulting services for looking at staffing, why runs are increasing, and what was the third one?
The HVA model? Is that it?
Why, yeah, and HVA performance and how to improve it, or whatever we have to do. So we are looking at that, and that'll come to the board, and you can decide which one the range of prices are anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. So technically, I could decide on my own. No, I can't, not for $50,000, but for lower.
Up for lower.
Yeah, so, but we want you guys to be involved in that. So we are gathering the information so that we make informed decisions that are not driven by hysteria.
So if the SAFER grant is awarded, what is the timing on it?
I'm sorry?
What's the timing?
The timing?
You mean,
Should
when is
be-
the award date?
Yeah.
And when would
I believe
the
it's going
funds?
to be awarded, Chris, you know? I think it's like August, September? Yeah.
And then the funds would be available when? Almost immediately?
Almost
Or
immediately, I believe, yeah.
So they front the money,
Yeah.
so it's not a reimbursement. That's even better. Because then
From
for a
my
cash-
understanding, no, I don't want to quote you, I've been,
We've got to check into that.
there's a lot of reading involved.
From the
with
cash
SAFER
flow
grant.
standpoint,
Yeah.
and also, we need an absolute confirmation about when we get to the point, if we win it, about the flexibility to
Reduce staff.
reduce staff.
At
Let's
the
say
end
it
of the
turns
grant
out
term.
that we have a big recession, and 2 years from now, the value of homes go down, and we don't have as much tax dollars, and Kermit doesn't want to raise the rate, then maybe you would only hire 5 or 4, or whatever. If we have that flex, is my point.
But you have to hire the
In the
seven. You
Right,
have to
no,
hire
no,
the
but I'm
seven.
talking about at the end of
At the end, yeah, you could.
At the
you could-
end,
But it's all our
You
bucks.
could adjust.
in the past, we were
had to retain.
required to keep them on for 3 to 4 years or something.
Yeah. The other thing is they've flipped the reimbursement. So you notice the first 2 years, they give you 75%, and the last year, they give you 35%. So that's a little different than the previous.
Last year, 35.
Yeah, so it's 75, 75, then 35. So
Yeah.
And then at year
they
four.
flipped the table.
And then at year 4,
It's-
we're on our
We're on our own.
Right.
And so, that's 1.1 to $1.2 million.
So just so I understand, for the grant, your recommendation is that we should get 7 people
Correct,
for the grant? Okay.
correct.
I mean, clearly, we're gonna need a millage. Bottom line, we're gonna need a millage. And my recommendation would be not do anything until we approved for the millage. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, and I won't support a millage.
Well, let's see if, before we get the cart before the
Yeah,
horse.
let-
Yeah,
let's
no,
see
that's
if we get it,
exactly
yeah.
right.
Let's see what we get.
Yeah.
Because we're getting a potential millage, pardon?
I'm trying to understand when you say I don't support a millage.
Yeah, I don't support.
But are you the only one that can support that, or
No,
the entire
no.
board?
He's
I'm
just
making a statement.
Yeah, just his
So,
position.
Sure.
right. What I could have done was not bring this at all and we would have handled it administratively and not even considered the SAFER grant. So this is open disclosure.
I
what
understand,
this
right?
is.
It's just
once you're,
7 new people
Is a lot of money.
without any millage. It's impressive. I don't know how we're gonna do it.
we wouldn't.
No, we can't,
It's a lot of money.
right?
So the other alternative was to go with 4. And the consultant, well, maybe I'll talk to him, you and I will talk to him.
Yeah,
And see if we can win it.
Probably won't even write it for 4.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's where dialogue comes.
Exactly.
So it's by saying that we agree to doing this, we are agreeing to a future
Not tonight, we're not.
burden.
No,
No.
But you're saying you want approval or discussion to write the grant. So if we get it,
then we have
we
another
can say
decision.
no to it.
Yes, yes.
So we'll be awarded it and then.
It's not
say no.
advisable to say no to you, because that's going to affect grants in the future, too.
But you can say no.
Once that
Like-
horse
Okay,
is
so
out
you
of
can
the
always say
barn,
no.
it's out of
No,
the
no, we're
barn.
not mandated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but would anybody have the will to turn it down?
I would if it
I
didn't
think-
look right.
Yeah. It has to make sense.
So there's some potential other cost offsets that we can come up with. And, we're studying that.
I don't see where.
Well, remember, this building is being paid off, so that's an extra $450,000 that we
But
didn't
it's
have before.
also 25 years old and it's gonna need things.
Yeah, but
True.
Yeah, but it's not going to need $450,000 a year. So the building is pretty sound, or very sound.
Yeah, it seems like we should have had this backwards, the recommendation from the consulting group regarding HVA.
Unfortunately, the
firefighting.
timing of
I
the
know.
grant, they don't tell you when they're going to come out with them.
From the beginning
It's a
of the year.
roaming number every year when they open the grant. So you can't say, oh, it's going to open in May to July. They don't do it next year. It might be December to February. It moves every year. So it's dealing with the federal government. Yeah, I would love different timing too, but
No,
it is what
not
it
your
is.
fault.
So, and also federal funding has been up in the air. There's been a lot of turmoil.
That's right.
So a lot of it's not predictable.
And our
My
grant writer has a
feeling
good-
is go for it and let's see what happens.
And our grant writer has a good finger on the pulse for that too, because he's written millions of dollars worth of grants. So.
Okay, good.
But again, there's always ways, the first answer is not always increase taxes. Maybe we can do something else. But I don't intend to raise taxes. You're probably going to get a tax increase of 20%, beginning in 2026 with the transit bus system countywide.
20%.
Yeah, 1 mil, and we have 5 mills today. If we increase by 1 mil for the county bus, that's 20% at the local level.
At the local,
Based on our local level.
For a bus we don't even use.
Right, so we're at 5 today, a little over 5.1. And if you add 1 to it, that's a 20% increase. So, we have people coming here and, everybody's concerned about maintaining their life and raising their children or retiring. So, in my opinion, we don't want to take any more money from people than we absolutely have to. And that we operate in a very efficient fashion. We're leveraging Huron Valley Ambulance. Our firefighters have done yeoman tasks, and, that can continue. Now, the union chief is here. Do you want him to say anything?
It's up to Chris if he wants to speak. Fill any blanks I missed?
Good evening. Thank you so much my name is Chris Smith. I'm the president of IFF Local 1496, Plymouth Township Professional Firefighters. And thank you so much for including us in the conversation. The only things that I would clarify are that on the number, when it was being discussed between 4 or 7 or whatever, somewhere in the range, the reason that we landed on that number, we were very transparent when we had a conversation with the supervisor about the department's needs moving forward and the realism of realizing those needs. So we landed on that number because the grant process looks at, will the grant approval provide impactful change to the community? That's what they're looking for. They're looking at an NFPA standard and rig staffing, essentially, to approve the grant. And to make impactful change, we would have to write the grant in such a fashion that it shows that we are actually making an impact on the community, right? So 3 firefighters wouldn't do that as far as the grant is concerned, as far as being awarded the grant, which is why our consultant said that, you know, it's really not even worth attempting the grant process for that number. And 7 was the number that we kind of collectively landed on as far as how we would staff the department, in what areas, to provide a more impactful service and more effective service for the community. I can answer any other questions that the board might have for us, but really that's the only thing I wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Glad to hear from you.
Thank
So
you. Appreciate that.
the IAFF local supports applying for the grant, 6+1.
We do. We, you know.
Even though there's no guarantees.
Correct. We're very well aware of that. I work very closely with, you know, many counterparts in the fire service, and it's well known that, you know, you can apply for a grant. We may not be awarded it at all. We have been successful in the past. The union has always supported that, and that's realistic. It's solely because we understand that by improving our manpower numbers, we are going to be providing a better service. The
Well,
more
how
people we
so?
have, the better
What-
that we
how-
operate, the more effective.
And I don't know, it's a question for either of you or both of you. What is your argument that supports the premise that it's an impactful change?
Versus 3?
Because we don't, for one thing, we're gonna have majority of the time, or a larger portion of the time, we'll have 4 people on the west end to get to those farther western suburbs that can make an impactful change. 4 people can go into a structure fire, because you have to have 2 in, 2 out whenever you have a house fire, right? Unless there's a life safety issue, like someone's definitely in there, or it's caught in very early stages of the fire.
So Beck Road Station.
Yes, Station 3.
Do you mind, Chief? Just say thank you. So the way that would be impactful, just to reiterate what the chief was saying, as far as the union understands it, and we're, again, in agreement with the fire chief, to make impactful change, we have to show that something is truly going to be impactful. Right now, we have 2 firefighters assigned to Station 3. The way the grant would be written would show that we have a ladder truck that is primarily unstaffed, because a lot of the runs that come out of that station are medical. We do have quite a bit of fire alarms. We have fires out in Station 3's area, of course. So in writing the grant, we are fashioning it to show that we would staff Station 3 with the additional 6 firefighters, which would staff that $1 million+ ladder truck. And now we would have a 4-person daily station, and that station is available for the residents and the community on the west end of the township. As the fire chief mentioned earlier, there's quite a gap in the response time from the west end to the east end to the west end. And the way the stations are located, Station 1 and 2 support each other very well. So on a full staff day, you would have 4 people at Station 1, 2 people at Station 2. You have 6 people east of Sheldon. You have 2 people west of Sheldon. So by writing the grant and saying that we're staffing Station 3, we now show an impactful change to the west end, an impactful change to the community in that area, that they have now 2 staffed, an ambulance and a fire engine, a ladder truck, 2 staffed apparatus on the west end, west of Sheldon. So that would be the idea.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the board?
No.
Comments? Anything from the public? Got to come up front.
I was just curious to know, is this grant renewable? Like, when it expires, can we hopefully apply for a new one?
It is not.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it is not.
one-time.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to
No, no,
get
that's-
close enough to speak. No, you're fine. I just wanted to get close enough to speak in the microphone. The grant process is a 3-year award, and then after that award, we bear the burden of, the township bears the burden of the employee cost. The grant isn't renewable year after year after year. They stopped doing that years ago.
Thank you, I didn't know that.
Now, if we wanted to expand the staffing further, we could go for further grants at that point. But that would be for additional staff above this.
So I am married to a firefighter. I live on the east end of Plymouth Township. The staffing levels with the fire department are incredibly concerning, especially given all the redevelopment we have going on.
Speaking to the microphone, please, so you, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm married to a firefighter who doesn't work for Plymouth Township.
But you live in Plymouth Township.
What?
Do you live in Plymouth Township?
Yes, I live in Plymouth Township. I live off Greenbrier Lane on Haggerty Road. So I'm actually not here for this purpose, but it's come to my attention and my husband's attention how concerning staffing levels are with the township. The community my husband works for, they actually have it written in their city charter how many public safety folks they're supposed to have per resident. We don't have that. I mean, I was just driving down 6 Mile looking at Northville Township's new station right off of, I think it's near Haggerty.
It's on
and-
7 Mile.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it's, as a resident, it's very concerning the level of, the lack of public safety we have in terms of fire. I don't know what police looks like. We're one of the, I don't know, wealthiest communities in Wayne County. I mean, as someone who's had health problems in the last 2 years, you know, I find the response rates really concerning. So I don't know, as a resident, I would be willing to pay more taxes to know that we have emergency response services that can adequately address our needs. I think it's, like I said, very concerning, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm inclined to make the decision to go forward with applying. Does anybody have any strong objections? I know what you said about taxes. I'll reiterate it again. I won't support a tax increase. That's one reason we're wealthier in Plymouth, because we hang on to more of our money. So that's what I want to do.
I agree.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right, let's try it.
Well, just to be clear again, if we vote these 7 people, and let's say it's approved, we still have to make a decision.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We still have to make a decision.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to accept the grant.
Right?
Yep,
Thank you, Chief.
yep, thank you.
Got to come back from the board.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And maybe we never come back because we won't get awarded.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm sorry, one more question. Once you've been granted the award, how much time do you have before it lapses or expires when you accept it? Like, so that we have time to
How many months or
deliberate
days
more?
do you have to accept it? We probably don't know. We got to check it out.
To accept it, to fill it, you're saying?
No, to accept it. So they say you got awarded, and then you say, is it the next day? Is it a week? Is it a month?
Yeah, he'll get back with us on that.
Good question.
Okay.
Public comments.
Public comments on any item now. It's a free-for-all.
Okay.
This is Plymouth Township. You don't get to do this anywhere else, so go for it. No other community allows you to speak like we do. None. Goes against the judgment of that attorney there, what we're doing, and what the Michigan Townships Association says.
I'm actually here because I thought someone else from my neighborhood was going to join me.
I'm sorry.
Pull the mic
So,
down.
yeah, I live in Lake Point.
What street?
I live on Greenbrier. I live the second house off Greenbrier in Haggerty. And so last year, someone purchased the house next to mine and has made it into an Airbnb. And I've recently had someone knocking on my door wondering where, apparently there was a party next door, and they were looking for that house at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. There's someone else in my neighborhood I thought that was going to be here at this meeting. Oh, okay. Sorry.
You arrived late, so a lot of this is happening.
Yeah, so I'm late to the party. I just wanted to say that I think we as a township should be talking about putting up, talking about ordinances that would prevent Airbnbs in certain areas. I mean, I don't have a hotel next to my home either. So it's a residential area, and I don't think it's an appropriate place for an Airbnb.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I thought we had this discussion a couple years back.
We have never discussed
No,
short-term rentals.
I remember at Heisey, there was something about a short-term rental.
There was a
problem place.
There was a problem place, and I think
Green
it was.
Meadows.
Yeah, and then the police department handled it. You know, we have ordinances about noise and.
By the way, is the address?
Underage drinking.
Yes.
So what are other townships doing? What is the precedence?
It's all over the map, especially in northern Michigan. Wildly controversial. And along Lake Michigan, a lot of the small communities there. Some have adopted, some have been sued. Short-term rentals it's been brought up at the state legislature at one time, where the state legislature was going to make it such that you could not restrict short-term rentals as a township or a city or a village.
But an HOA can do it. The HOA that we're in northern Michigan is banned short-term rentals, and they went to the state Supreme Court, the case did, and they won.
Yeah.
But most of us who live in platted subdivisions, which is what Lake Point is a platted subdivision, they don't have those kinds of covenants.
Right.
Anyway, I assume the address is 40350 Greenbrier? Okay. Tomorrow I'll submit that along with the other 3 that was given to me as a rental to our assessor, and they will begin the process to increase their taxes substantially, because by state law you have to be owner occupied. It's called primary residence exemption. There's some background or whatever if a house is being rented, and I don't know what the definition of rental is for primary residence exemption, how many days. Used to be 14 days you could rent it and not be subject to, I don't know what's happened now.
So it may become financially not sustainable.
Less desirable.
Yeah.
So that's all we can do?
Well, presently.
Yeah, presently, but we could pass an ordinance that would, for example, restrict the number or the location. You'd have a licensing thing.
Density,
be a whole bunch of bureaucracy. And it goes against typically, Plymouth Township has never had rental inspections or inspection on sale.
Right.
Just like Westland, Canton, City of Detroit had the most rigorous inspection for rentals and on-sale inspections of any place in the state for the last 60 years, and all it did was cause 50,000 residents to be torn down and decline. People here have taken care of their own property. We've been free market driven forever. So that's why it would be a big decision to go and start regulating rentals, which we have never done. Well, you got to come up here and talk.
Well, Mr. Supervisor, while he's walking up, can I just add to Jerry's comment about the house that the police department addressed?
In Green Meadows?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Green Meadows is a subdivision off of Ann Arbor Road.
Yeah, that particular address, we utilize significant, not only law enforcement, fire runs to that residence addressing that issue over multiple months. So
it wasted our resources.
Significantly. We had criminal complaints come out of there, civil complaints, eviction issues. For a while, for a couple weeks, we were out there almost every single day. So
what was the resolution? They sold the house?
I believe it eventually was, but there was a significant amount of both legal and criminal issues that were addressed over that period of time. So it was, it's the worst I've seen, but that can happen, yes.
I think this house was owned by a prominent Plymouth resident. So,
So it wasn't me.
Nor me.
all right, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Cliff. I just had a question.
Cliff lives where?
What's that?
Where do you live, Cliff?
Lake Point,
All right.
Hamel Lane.
Hamel, do you know who he was?
What's that?
You know who Hamel was?
No.
He was our township
Wars.
engineer beginning in about the 1940s to the 1980s. So he was the one that
Before
laid
my
out a
time.
lot of subdivisions and did a lot of early sewer and water work in this township.
That's great. That's one of the, well, also Lake Point is a great place to live. That's why we chose to move here. The thing that I also, I'm not so like worried about Airbnbs for a weekend. Say you went out of town, you wanted to rent your house out. Not a big problem. I have a problem when people are buying homes for families that could move in there when you're buying a home to rent out specifically for Airbnbs, which is a total different thing. Like, where does that end? Where does that stop?
So your premise is that they're vacant most of the time?
No,
and-
well,
And then somebody could be living in there.
well, specifically
So it's
for us,
contributing to the housing shortage?
well, there's that as well, but also like specifically for our subdivision, our house was bought and it's strictly an Airbnb. This isn't like you're renting your house for a weekend. You bought this house with the purpose of renting it out.
Looks like an LLC or something like
Yeah,
that.
well, then I don't know.
Probably
I
is.
don't understand how that works. You know, I don't understand. Is that so? Now we live in a residential area. So now, how does that work?
You say, how does it work?
Well, how is that legal?
It is completely legal. When you purchase, in the United States, and Plymouth Township in particular, when you buy property, you have private property rights, and you can generally do with it what you wish as long as it is not violating the law. And that is not violating the law to rent your house a short term in Plymouth Township.
There's no law against that.
No.
At all.
There's
So
no state law.
I can run a business out of my house.
That is not considered a business. It's a
Airbnb is not a
Right.
business if you
It-
just buy it
it's allowed-
specifically for that purpose
Right,
alone.
it's allowed. You're maybe not old enough, but remember when we used to rent cottages up north? They used to be rented by the week,
Yes.
okay? So that was 125 years ago when that started. And so that was kind of short-term rental.
But there's also
And they
rules
never
and
had to have
regulations.
licenses.
There's also rules and regulations regarding that now, I'm sure. You
No,
can't-
there isn't.
There's not?
Very few communities, when you rent on a
I
lake.
could go to Torch Lake and just
Yes, I know
Airbnb
Torch Lake
everything?
well. Torch Lake, absolutely not. You don't need a license to rent your cottage.
And there's no rules and regulations
No.
about, okay.
There's several townships there, but some of the townships do have short-term rentals restrictions. On Torch Lake, I don't know if there are any, but.
I'm not saying Torch Lake specifically, I'm
In
just saying.
Leelanau County, in Grand Traverse County, there's been several townships, and also in the area around Saugatuck, that have had ordinances put in place.
All I'm asking is to consider putting an ordinance in place for that.
Okay, we heard you.
Thank you.
I urge you to talk to the owners as much as you can and give, if they're doing things that aren't neighborly, the first thing is a dialogue with the neighbor. And hopefully the people are reasonable. Pardon? They don't live there, but somebody's coming in there to service that house, clean it, that type of thing, unless they have a cleaning service.
They have a cleaning service, lawn service.
Yeah, you know who they are. You can check, you can go online in Plymouth Township, put the address in, it'll tell you who owns it and where they live. It will. Oh, yes. You go to property record search, and it'll tell you whether they're current on their water bill, their taxes, whether they have permits to do maintenance, not maintenance, and it'll tell you where the owner, it'll probably say XYZ LLC, and it'll give an address. Hopefully not a P.O. box. Although property tax bills Are they sent to, Bob, can they be sent to PO boxes?
Yeah?
Yeah, they can, okay. So anybody else have anything to say? Otherwise, we're gonna close up the meeting. No, I'm glad you guys came.
Thank you for coming.
So it's good to hear the right thing.
And you heard that there's gonna be some discussions from the public about zoning issues?
Go on the website and the QR code is there. At least they told me it was. That's what she said tonight. So you can also, are there, back there, are there some, there it is, right there. You can photograph that also.
Are those available via PDF? That's an electronic document to share with the community.
When you mean the survey based on a PDF?
No, whatever that.
The QR code?
Yeah, so a PDF document that has the QR code on it, so that we can share that with every neighborhood.
But where would they get it?
Is it on the website?
On the website? So I can't definitively say yes or no.
It's easy to grab.
You can send an email to planning@PlymouthTWP.org, and they will get it and answer your question or send you the PDF. Planning@PlymouthTWP.org. All right. Anything from the board? Let's start with Jennifer Buckley.
Yeah, so we have our next Veterans Commission meeting, third Monday in July. And we actually have two people that will not be able to serve any longer. One is aging and has health issues, and then another one just travels too much. So if you know anyone that loves veterans and would like to serve on our commission to help veterans, please reach out to me, jbuckley@PlymouthTWP.org for a board application or commission application, and then we can go through that and let you know what some of the events we do in the township are and how you can be involved in that. Or you can even show up to the meeting on that third Monday next month right here.
You can also,
It's on the website.
the official is on the website,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring it into the clerk's office and the supervisor's office.
And then Sheila's gonna put it in the e-newsletter.
Yeah, we've regularly been asking for people for commissions and boards, so we'll do it again next. I think the next e-news, there'll be one going out before 4th of July weekend. Want to make it as productive as possible, so we got to think about putting some useful stuff in there. No fluff. People's time is important. Bob?
Taxes will be in the mail. You should be receiving them the end of this week, or the target is to try to get them to arrive in the mailboxes on June 30th, and there's an art to that. So there's 6 ways to pay. You can mail it in. You can drop it in the 24-hour drop box. You can come into Township Hall 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. You can pay online using an electronic check or by credit card. If you don't pay in person, you can look up on the website, look up your property and see that the payment was recorded. We record all payments the day that we receive them. So there's really no reason that somebody doesn't have a good option in which to pay. The taxes are due July 1st, but there's a 75-day grace period that takes us out to September 15th. After that time, there's a penalty associated. This makes me the most popular person in town this time of year. So
is it wrong to pay after July 1st?
No, it's just expensive.
No, after
There's
September.
no fee. It just, it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong if there's a due date, but then you have 75 more
No, it
days.
says due date on there, September
Yeah,
15th.
no, the reason for that is that technically and legally, taxes are due and payable July 1st, but there's no penalty until September 15th. So what happens every year is
24th.
September 16th, people say it's only one day late, but it's actually 75 days
Yeah,
late.
that's interesting.
It's a
If you bought a
technicality.
house, you would be responsible for the taxes at closing,
Right.
beginning July 1, even though you hadn't paid them.
True.
So the title company will make that calculation because it is due July 1.
Well, some people that might make people nervous because that's only
Well, they shouldn't
6
get,
days away.
they shouldn't get nervous.
They haven't even gotten the bill yet.
They should hang on to their money as long as possible.
Well, no, they should give it to us as early as possible.
Why do you mail them out the day before they're due?
I can't hear.
Why do you mail them out the day before they're due?
She's asking the same thing. Why is it so close to the due date?
Because what happens is that we can't legally accept a payment until July 1st. And if the bills go out too early, people try to pay them.
Can't you just hold on to the check?
No.
Oh my God, what a nightmare.
That would be
No,
a
you can't do
nightmare.
it.
So interesting. See, you learned something.
That,
every day.
it's the
Even
state
if-
law, it's a state law cookbook, right, Bob?
Yeah, it's a cookbook.
It's a cookbook. So remember, we talked about finding out the short-term rental address? It's the same place to find out your taxes, how much you owe, because remember, if you don't get the tax bill, it doesn't matter, you still owe it, and your house will be sold for taxes after 2 years if you don't pay it. So people sometimes say, well, I didn't get the invoice. It's not like a big company that says to their supplier, well, you didn't send the invoice, that's why you didn't get paid. Doesn't work that way with taxes. Same thing with water bills.
Push the pipe up.
Jerry?
I'm good, everything's great.
All right. Mark?
I'm good as well.
John Stewart?
A couple items. Laura, you ready? Being helpful and practical, the dispatch phone number is 354-3250. Call and ask for a police officer. We are very low on crime, and the officers like to circle the subdivisions, but they'll come in if you'll call and ask. I want to thank Stephanie Smith, who's retiring after 25 years. I haven't heard any talk about the issue that I hear the most about from citizens: traffic studies. And this afternoon, the supervisor looked at me and said, what happens when all those high-rises fill up and we have hundreds of more occupants and hundreds of more cars? Rhetorical question. The state legislature adjourns in less than 48 hours, June 26, until September. The schools are looking for their budget. The school aid fund is 1/3 of the entire state budget. So if you're trying to get something from your state legislator, you got to do it in less than the next 48 hours. I'm sure we're all appreciative of the frugality of how Plymouth Township is run. Statewide, Michigan is the 13th highest in property taxes. Culture, athletics, and the arts. There's going to be three huge concerts in Kellogg Park this Thursday, this Saturday, and next Thursday night. Over 800 people will be there. Melanie Farrell from New York is coming in to be a soloist. The band, Plymouth Community Band, celebrating 65 years. Cultural institution. The symphony, 80 years. Right here in Plymouth. That's my definition of our culture. And we celebrate the 4th of July, a week from Friday, with a parade, and we have the freedom to think, to reason, and to live in a world of reality. Thank you very much, and good night.
All right, a couple of items. So one, since we're talking about the parade, police and fire is going to participate? At least some are?
Yeah, the police, we're gonna be a little bit lean on honor guard only because the city officers that are half of our unit will be working the details, so we'll have two to handle the two flags, the state flag and the United States flag. We'll have Lieutenant Krebs will be there in a squad car.
Okay, and you're going to have at least one truck?
We're gonna have cool fire trucks. We'll have a ladder truck probably, probably one engine and then probably an ambulance at least. We're looking at least 3 trucks, hopefully.
Okay. And elected officials are free to walk in the parade with the city of Plymouth. I don't know whether I'm going to be there or not yet. It's kind of last minute stuff for me. So let's take some events. The Ridge 5 development, which was developed by Hillside and then sold to Northfield Downs, which was going to be the site of the horse track, has been sold and the check is cleared. The buyers are a family-owned company from the east side of Detroit that have an extremely good reputation. It's called DeAugustini, and they plan to operate it as a business and industrial park to attract technology and research and light manufacturing. It's 1 lot less. It used to be 9 lots. Hillside retained the 1 lot when they sold to Northfield Downs, so we only have 8 lots. They have already done mowing and cleaning up. There were some companies squatting on there, storing equipment and things. They're cleaning that out and talking to those people. So this ends a saga, well, not ends, but closes the next chapter in a saga of Northfield Downs, which was very tumultuous. And interestingly enough, Northfield Downs 2.0 is kicked off in the city of Plymouth with the Christian Science Church going through the same, it's a PUD. You're starting to see the stop signs out with, so here we go again. They laughed at us, thought that we were kind of boisterous and cantankerous. Now they got it. So their turn. Meyer, the construction has started with land clearing and taking the foundations out of the ground from the old cell block. And that will be located west of the water tower, west of Home Depot. There will also eventually be some outbuildings for retail, maybe a Tractor Supply, maybe a credit union, those type of businesses. Some of you may have noticed across from the Bob Janot GMC dealer on Sheldon Road near Bushes, the trees coming down, that is an 8-acre cutout of St. John's Resort of townhouses that will be built. They'll be 2.5 stories tall by Pulte. I think there's, is it 70? I'm not certain. And then a little bit of bad news is Ann Arbor Road was scheduled today to go down to 1 lane until November eastbound to fix the pump station and drainage under the railroad underpass. So the traffic could be backed up to Sheldon Road if you're going eastbound, because that is the official detour for M14, which has only 1 lane eastbound, and so people are being diverted. And you'll probably see the just-in-time trucks. I think there's 1 every 2 hours that are carrying frames to the Jeep facility on I-75 that are made here in Plymouth Township, and also going to Jefferson Avenue Assembly Plant. So there'll be a lot more traffic. Live Golf is a tournament that's coming to Plymouth Township. Our fire and police chiefs are very active. Our police chief is leading the liaison with Live Golf and their consultants. This will be August 22nd. There'll be about 10,000 people a day that will be showing up at St. John's Resort. There'll be a lot of visibility for Plymouth Township, and there'll be a lot of police and fire presence. Urge you to take it in. on television or in person. I hear it's pretty affordable. You can get in for under $50. I don't know if, I haven't looked, but I heard that's the case. Any questions from the board about anything else that maybe, our next meeting is July 22nd, so it's a month away. People will be on vacation, I think, in some cases, so we'll be slowing a little, but as usual, we will be providing the normal good service, not lavish service, but good service, good value for the money in Plymouth Township.
What's the update with the fire station? I haven't even heard it mentioned and
It's on hold.
it's on hold.
We spent $182,000 to plan it, so it's on hold.
What does that mean?
It's on hold until we decide what the next step is.
Which is when?
No definite timing yet. It won't be built this year, or won't start this year.
And Amazon Fresh?
Oh, hear nothing about that. I think it's a bad sign that they have 4 lease signs in the windows. So I don't have any high confidence that they're going to show up anytime soon in Plymouth Township. Would be nice, a little more competition. Meyer is going to inject a lot of competition in the grocery business out on 5 Mile Road.
And how about 5 Mile Road construction?
That's complete to about 50 yards west of Ridge Road. The remainder to the county line, which is Napier, is to be determined, up in the air. There's no money to build it. So that's got to be some creative financing or patience, because there isn't. Jeremy, what did they estimate that it was going to cost to build? 3 million or was it 14 million? I forgot. No. No, unfortunately, the trash, they pay for it, they say, in their gas tax and license plate fees. But yeah, they do beat it up. It's a 3-lane road now with a center turn lane. Pardon? Well, this will be the last question. Go ahead.
The train tracks on Hadley Road, just this side of Schoolcraft, are a mess. Like, the road is awful. Do you have any push?
The road is awful, or the track approach?
The road in between the tracks.
Yeah. So that is the responsibility of CSX Railroad, based in Jacksonville, Florida. Oddly enough, their CEO
Lives here.
Well, he has a house here now. He used to live here. And they are governed by the Interstate Commerce Commission. And they essentially give us the single finger because they know they were here first. In fact, they're the reason Plymouth is here, as a railroad. So we paid them in 2019 $25,000 to review drawings for a sidewalk on Ann Arbor Road adjoining their underpass. And repeated calls by me, they talk to me or whatever, but they never do anything. So it is the most complex, convoluted approval process seen by man. So they do things at their own pace. But you can also report it. In the newsletter, there's a phone number, and I think there's a phone number to call in railroad issues. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Where were all